Okay, hi, good morning, everybody. This is the Energy and Environment Committee. Today is Tuesday, June the 1st. We are in a new room just for today, room 1050 in City Hall on the 10th floor. Madam Clerk, what is the first item? Or Mr. CLA.
Certainly, that's fine. Rafi operated with the CLA's office. Item number 1 relates to a report from DWP relative to their proposed fiscal year 2010-11 budget. At the request of the department, they've requested that the committee continue the matter until they present the report to their board. Okay. Continue it to a further date.
Okay, and then are we working on a date for it to come to committee after they present it to their board? Okay.
It is planned to be presented in council this Friday, so working with your staff to have a meeting set prior to that.
Okay, excellent. Just as long as we get it done before council on Friday. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so we'll continue that item and hold it in committee, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Next item?
Item number 2 relates to a CAO report relative to acceptance of balance of $37 million energy efficiency and conservation block grant funds. This item was scheduled to be considered by the council last Friday. It was continued and referred to this committee for further consideration. It's before you know, we have staff from Department of Water and Power and Environmental Affairs Department as well.
Okay, and this is just a 2-item agenda today, correct?
Yes.
All right, why don't we have staff come up? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, why don't we get started? Who wants to go first?
I will.
Okay, great.
Good morning, Beth Gines, representing the Environmental Affairs Department. We're here to request authority to accept the balance of the city's $37 million Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant and begin implementing the associated programs. We're also requesting a few adjustments to the programs that the City Council approved in November of 2009, including transferring the program oversight administration and primary contact with DOE to other departments. By way of background, the DOE made available a direct allocation of $37 million to the City of LA. The city made an initial request for $250,000 to develop an energy efficiency and conservation strategy and prepared a proposed expenditure plan for the funding. This was received in July 2009. EAD and the partner departments held 8 public outreach meetings to discuss possible programs and to solicit public input. The strategy and expenditure plan were approved by council and submitted to the Department of Energy in November of 2009. The Department of Energy approved the strategy and the expenditure plan in mid-March 2010. There is a great deal of attention being focused on this award by Department of Energy and other federal agencies. The city's award is the second largest in the country, and there's a strong desire to see successful programs roll out quickly and to reduce energy use and create and retain green jobs and to share our success stories across the country.
Is there someone here from the CAO's office on this item? One of the reasons I continue, you can just pull up a chair, you don't need to, there's plenty of room. One of the reasons I continued this item on Friday and referred it to committee is because I had questions about the Department of Water and Power administering the program. So who can tell me the rationale for selecting the Department of Water and Power to be the grant administrator for this program?
Councilmember, I'm David Hirano with the Office of CAO. It was requested by EAD, and we recommended that DWP be the lead on the remainder of the grant program.
The CAO's office recommended?
Yes, we did make that recommendation.
Okay. Can you tell me what the rationale was for that?
Yes. We believe DWP is our technical and resident expert on energy efficiency matters. We feel that DWP is already a participant in the grant, and they have assured us that they understand the role of managing a grant of this magnitude under the ARA program. In addition, DWP has volunteered to hire, well, they actually have hired 2 of the former environmental affairs staff that are critical to managing this program and have the historical background to the program, understand what the program entails and what's needed. In addition, we know that even though I understand that DWP is not in favor with much of the council right now, that when DWP claims, when DWP gives themselves or puts themselves to it, they can really do a good job when they really
Let me ask you a
dedicate themselves
question,
to
and
it.
everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's not a matter of favor or in favor. It's just a
Understood.
matter of asking questions and trying to get to the bottom of where we need to get to, or the truth. But what other options do we have as a council if the council as a body decides not to select the Department of Water and Power as a grant administrator for this program?
You do have another viable option is to put the grant with the Community Development Department.
Mm-hmm.
The Community Development Department has experience administering block grants. They have a culture of administering grants. They understand them very well. The one thing that the Community Development Department would be missing is any expertise in energy efficiency or in environmental science.
Tell me
They
the
would need that
difference.
to
Okay,
help.
then tell me the difference. Now, if the council chooses CDD,
Mhm.
CDD would need about $500,000 to support staffing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What would DWP need in terms of money set aside for operational costs? Was that comparable?
We asked them, and they said they would be able to absorb it within their existing budget. Obviously, their budget's much larger, so they were able to make that commitment.
Did you get that with any specificity? And let me tell you why I'm asking.
Okay.
It's because it's always been very difficult for us to track inflows, outflows, expenditures, breakdown in operational costs with the Department of Water and Power. Some may perceive it as a lack of cooperation, and some may perceive it as something else. But the thing that concerns me is that they would be able to absorb this money, and then we would be unable to determine that it was spent the way it was supposed to be spent, and that it might be used to augment, other situations or positions, and then there's no way to contain this.
I understand that's a valid concern, and I think DWP is here. Maybe they can address that for you.
Hi, good morning, Ann Santilli, DWP. Actually, the 14 programs that were already approved by the council are expected to stay as is. And since we have absorbed the 2 people that are most knowledgeable about it, the way we see it working would be when a department believes that they have spent the money and complied with the program, they would send their funds request and their information to the former Environmental Affairs Division employees who are knowledgeable. That person would double check to make sure the milestones are complete, and then they would send down to DWP Accounting a request to draw down the funds, and the DWP would then transfer those funds to the appropriate department with a separate account number, and then that department will be responsible for making sure that all their costs are in place, and any follow-up items on those expenditures would be reported back to the council with every 30 days, I believe is what was requested.
What general fund impact would this be, assuming that it ended up under DWP or CDD? Tell me if they both have general fund impacts or not, or if there's a difference.
I believe the difference would be minor, but with CDD, we would probably get a little bit more general fund money in the overheads than if we went to DWP.
And then what about CDD?
No, I'm sorry. With CDD, we'd get a little bit more in the general fund overheads to the general fund.
Do you know how much?
I don't have that number here.
Can you get me that
Right,
before
we
we
can
go
get
back
you
to
that number.
council?
Yeah,
And
it's
then
not.
I basically want to compare and contrast.
Okay,
So
we
that
could
we
do
can
that.
have not only the cost-benefit analysis, so that people can make an informed decision. And then tell me if there are any drawbacks with the Federal Department of Energy if the city decides to allow DWP to have a role in administering the program only on a temporary or on a limited basis.
Okay.
So that would allow us to evaluate as opposed to just going directly into CDD.
Okay. And just so you know, I know our staff, we have people who are coordinating our program from our department. They were also very concerned about getting information back. DWP has assured us that they will cooperate fully with our staff and provide information back to the council and the mayor. And we are relying on that
Well,
assurance
I
as well.
appreciate that, and that's not, yeah, but I mean,
I understand.
we've been through a very rough patch, and relying on some word from the Department of Water and Power is not something that I'm willing to do. I need to have everything on the record and basically locked in, or else I can tell you I'm not going to go for this. I'd rather work with CDD because at least we have a pathway for accountability that is very, very well established and very clear cut and clearly drawn, and won't be an uphill battle with us.
Understood.
I'd like for you to get me this additional information.
Will do.
On 2 columns: general fund impact, staffing impacts, and then I need an answer about DOE and whether the city decides to make a temporary decision to allow DWP to administer the program, what the ramifications of that would be.
Okay.
Okay, so, and as far as the rationale is concerned, I got to tell you honestly, other than expertise in the department, what it sounds to me like is it's tailor-made for absorbing this money into, a larger budget, and then us being utterly unable to contain the costs and have any way to track it, and being audited on the back end for using our money for things that it didn't need to be used for. And I don't really want to be a part of that, but maybe if you can get me answers to these questions, we may be able to work our way through this.
I understand you. We went through the same thought process in our office in terms of evaluating the 2 options. This is where we ended up, but we would definitely will. So I understand your thought process. We will
Yeah.
definitely get you the information, and
Yeah.
whichever way you choose to go is fine with us, of course.
Can I point out just a couple of things?
Yeah.
One is that we sat down, Environmental Affairs Department and DWP, the controller, the CAO, and the mayor's office, and worked out all of the reporting, the auditing, and the oversight roles and procedures. This funding does not ever actually go into DWP's budget. It remains at the Department of Energy. It's a reimbursable funding. So when Gretchen and Craig approve the invoices received from the departments that are administering the funds, then they request a drawdown, and that drawdown is performed by Department of Energy, but the funding goes directly to the departments who have incurred the costs as a reimbursement for those costs. And I also wanted to note that if we do decide to go with CDD, there's a timing factor that could be a problem for us in that they will have to ramp up, and whereas DWP is ready to go right now. The Department of Energy is putting a great deal of pressure on the city in trying to get us to move as quickly as possible and getting this money out the door so that we can actually create the energy efficiencies and the green jobs.
Mr. Hirano, can you give me the answers to these questions by tomorrow morning?
Yes.
Okay. And if you get them today?
Yes, if we can get them today, you'll have them as soon as we get them.
All right, so then let's see, I've got 3. And also, I think that I need to hear a better rationale for why DWP was selected as grant administrator, because it doesn't sound like there was a process other than talking.
Well, it was a process, and if you want, we can outline that for you.
It wasn't a public process.
It wasn't a public process. It was a process
And it wasn't a publicly
through our staff.
And it wasn't a publicly noticed process either,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah,
It-
yeah.
Yeah.
So those are just meetings,
Okay.
okay? Okay, so see if you can't get those for me. And Mr. Catalano's here. Obviously,
Okay.
you can contact him. All right, so we're going to move this without recommendation today? Okay,
Yes. You can forward it without recommendation. It'll be considered in council.
great. Okay.
It's your agenda. Is that opposed or not?
All right, for those items that are not on the agenda, this is the time for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on items that are not on the agenda should come forward at this time. Seeing that nobody is coming forward, the meeting is adjourned.